Hello and welcome, friends, builders, and community. Today we're going to talk about sovereign chains as a module that is crucial for builders all around the world and crucial for the expansion of the MultiversX ecosystem. Now, to do this conversation, we're going to have a much more builder-focused discussion. This means that we're first going to take a look at the technology and tech stack around sovereign chains. We're going to take a look at some of the benefits that enable builders to create wonders on these chains. We're going to take a look at some of the most important use cases that are emerging on top of sovereign chains and the teams that are already building on them. Now, in addition to all of this, we're going to take a look at 3 new design architectures that connect sovereign chains to some of the biggest and largest ecosystems around the world. Last but not least, we're going to break sovereign chains together. We're going to test their performance and take a look at everything they can give us. Now, to start this conversation, I'll just invite Robert, my colleague, to start the technical discussion. Let's dive right in. Hello, Robert.
See ya.
So perhaps one of the most interesting questions to start with is, what are sovereign chains actually? And I'll try to come with the simplest explanation. Perhaps it's not that simple, but it's still very useful. So sovereign chains are essentially a hyper-scalable modular L2 that is composable to the MultiversX network and standards, and that is multi-VM by design, compatible with Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Move, and so on. And to understand why this is relevant, you just have to think that builders have been building on modules that were not scalable, not customizable, not cross-chain compatible, super costly with maintenance, and that had a very slow time to market for them. So the only question then is, what do we actually bring with sovereign chains? Well, with sovereign chains, we enable this new paradigm where we take some of these problems, we add some new additional features that set a completely new solution in place that is unparalleled to some of the other solutions in the space or in the market, which then translates for builders in a best-in-class chain module that is hyper-scalable, that is composable, that is part of an integrated infrastructure that accelerates the time to market for builders and sets in motion completely new economic flywheels. So with this in mind, I think one good way to look at sovereign chains as an architecture is through the lens of the technology stack and understand perhaps 2 important elements. Why should we look at sovereign chains as an acceleration layer and maybe an interoperability layer? And for this, I'd be very curious to hear your thoughts, Robert.
I think we have to start back in 2017 when, at that time around, we wanted to resolve the blockchain trilemma, and we actually wanted to make a chain which is secure, scalable, and decentralized. We made that happen, and in the years after and in the whole process of development, we were thinking always about the future and how we can design our architecture in a way to make it future-proof. And you make future-proof something if you build on modules, integrated modules, which can be switched in and switched out pretty easily, thus enabling more. So when we look at the acceleration layer, we know that with the MultiversX stack, you can have a really high TPS chain, but not only TPS, complex operations with WASM, with a super low cost, which is actually decentralized. So that's the first thing. You can bring those type of primitives into the legacy layer 1 solutions and offer them a new life, because we see that scalability and new developer experience and best-in-class user experience actually accelerate any layer. That's forgiven. And for the interoperability part, we have designed at first the cross-shard system and cross-shard transaction and transfer model on the MultiversX main chain. And it's been working since the beginnings. It's super stable, super scalable, super fast. And what we thought, okay, we have this information and this module, let's bring this up into the next level, create a native cross-chain operation and token transfer module, integrate it directly into the sovereign chain. So everybody launching a new chain, it's not launching only in an island, but actually launches something which is seamlessly connected to not only one, the MultiversX, but multiple environments. And by being multiple environments, it means that there are no more problems of fighting between all those ecosystems, and all the people can come and try out your product.
So I think what you're saying is, one, the acceleration part just means we're taking the very best features that we've built into MultiversX from the outset and now extend them to all the largest chains in the world in a way where they bring the best benefits to these new chains and enable their users to tap into this new experience, new benefits, acceleration benefits, and so on. But then on the other hand, the interoperability layer part just means that we're taking some of the breakthroughs that we had from the beginning and extrapolating them to cross-chain interactions, just as these new chains would be a new shard, which essentially enables us to have a completely new type of layer of interoperability, of a kind of unified experience, and so on. Perhaps a very interesting element and aspect on this technical part would be to expand a bit on the multi-VM design, what this actually means in terms of composability, that I do believe is, again, unique and very, very important for the sovereign chain modules.
With VM especially, we had a lot of debates internally at the start in which direction to go, whether to go EVM, whether to go yellow VM, which was a formally verified one, or whether try out some new execution models which are faster. And we have tried out several VMs, plugged it into the, at that time, Elrond, see how they reacted, and then finally we launched with Wasm because we fell in love with Wasm and it's super fast and it's just match made in heaven for blockchains. But as we embarked in this journey of finding the VM, we made the architecture to be multi-VM by design, by the address level, by the most basic account level of the chain. And on the multi-VM, actually, we have two VMs right now, the system VM and the space VM. And we saw how the space VM, because of its creation, can be extended into resolving other type of execution models like EVM, which was built only in 2 weeks on top of space VM. And it's a complete unique feature to have atomic composability between these multi-VMs, and it's built into that. The developer doesn't have to know whether a smart contract he is calling is in VM X or VM Y, because the space VM interface and abstraction layer resolves it completely. And this opens up a new type of thinking about interoperability and about bringing developer experience together.
I very much agree with this part, and I also think the entire point with this new sovereign chain module is that it creates a new non-zero-sum game between the ecosystems that exist by elevating each of them through the either acceleration layer or interoperability layer. It reframes some of the relationships to be able to collaborate, to be able to tap into the different communities, to be able to tap into the different liquidity pools within these ecosystems, and it enables a completely new game to be played today. So beyond this part, there's two elements that perhaps are just capturing the essence. One, how good this actually is compared to some of the different alternatives. And here it's not only about this being better in terms of performance specifications, but as you've mentioned, it is about offering some features that no one else has, which is this native cross-chain interoperability communication layer, or the different native non-custodial elements, security elements. But one last point that everything comes back to is that through sovereign chains, we're enabling this new unified acceleration and interoperability layer with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and perhaps more than the top 10 blockchains in the world, in a way where builders can tap into this today and can build a new set of applications with composability that they could not have built before.
Exactly. I think that composability is one of the key primitives of the blockchain world, and it just creates a compounding effect for everything which is built into it, because people can focus only on their applications and they can tap into existing apps from others and combine those in a seamless fashion. Like I design a game in which I have my native assets internally and different NFTs. I do not have to design the marketplace or the exchange for this to create a complete environment, but I just can tap into the existing ecosystems and existing models. And with the composability built into the sovereign chain as an integrated module, then you will have composable applications across chains, which is never heard of. And this puts you into another place where you are not competing with the other chains, but you are trying to connect the other chains as they should have been from the first part, not with third-party bridges, but with integrated solutions, and to add more value to all the applications existing on almost all the chains. And this can elevate the space into, actually, from my perspective, into a new layer. And going a little bit back on the benefits of the sovereign chains, we have been somewhat known for our execution and of our outside thinking of how we resolve some of the issues what other chains have or they didn't resolve, like the Guardian system, like the native asset systems, like the built-in composability even at the asset and smart contract level, which was never heard before. And we can actually bring these kinds of innovations in an open way to all the other ecosystems and accelerate those. Resolve wallet drains issues, create new models in which actually the users feel much better, much safer, and everything is like abstracted from them. They just use and enjoy.
And I think this is the vision that sovereign chains makes possible today. This type of unified layer that combines forces, that offers the best in-class standards and primitives that are extended across the space to any chain that connects and takes the integration so that this is made possible. We're super excited about this. And of course, I'd like to invite Lucian to explore some of the directions and architectures that we're releasing today to start even deeper conversations with builders and making these architectures a reality. So could not be more excited to explore this. Hello, Lucian.
Hey, how's it going?
Great. I think a great way of moving to the next conversation is diving a bit and exploring some of the new architecture directions that we're going to explore on sovereign chains today. So with that, very curious to hear your thoughts.
Definitely. So yeah, really exciting day for MultiversX, and especially unveiling some of the sovereign chains progress. And especially when it comes to sovereign chains and app chain thesis, I do have the following thought process. So if we look at the internet infrastructure today as it is, basically we do have kind of a split share between public and private cloud. For public cloud, basically there is like public blockchains where you have all this kind of primitives available for your application, for your business, but they are shared within a broader ecosystem. Whereby when it comes to private cloud or private chains or sovereign chains, actually, this is like the evolution of how the technology should look like, where you basically can design your own space of computational resources, computational space that you can tap into upon your needs, right? And that's a guarantee space for your own business, for your own enterprise that I think would unlock the next wave of Web3 infrastructure that's going to be built. Well, maybe going back to how I would define this kind of sovereign chains models, I would say there are kind of three major pillars. Like one of them is like the custom logic blockchains, where for example we have DYDX as a good example, with custom logic that, for example, whereby the DYDX perpetual DEX requires some sort of high or low latency synchronization between the mempool in order for the validators to do the matchmaking between the offers on the inside application, and also maybe from a different angle perceive that, for example, the fees that are being collected within the DEX are shared with the validators such that the economic inflation would stay always at a minimum friction, right? So this is kind of the path for custom logic applications, which definitely sets a standard in the space. The second point that I would refer to is the general usage, where I would believe that in the upcoming years or months, that this one will be would have the most of the share, such that this one refers to alt layer infrastructure or gelato or similar infrastructure where you can, with this kind of very easy user experience, and a few clicks, can deploy a chain for your own needs in a couple of minutes. And just to set, maybe to explain a bit what the reality of today is, there are few of my friends that are working on this kind of products where they just told me they released similar infrastructure where you could deploy your app chain or a layer 2 for 24 hours for free, and once you pay that, or if you don't pay that, it gets dissolved, right? So this kind of lowers the friction of launching new chains, launching and experimenting on your own application or on your own blockchain without depending on a layer 1 fee model, fee structure, and so forth. So that's a second pillar that, as I said, I'm really excited about, to have a discussion around sovereign chains and expand the distribution around it. And then the last point, and not least, definitely would be the enterprises. But for the enterprises, I would definitely love to do a follow-up discussion with you on this one for, I think, maybe in a couple of days, weeks, because that will take in the entire show of today. Curious how you see it, or how you feel about it.
Indeed. I would say that there are two really large buckets. Perhaps one that is much closer to us, which is the crypto space, where you can see application chains or layer 2s and so forth. There's an entire design space there with many problems that are still maybe unsolved, and where people can really build empires just by solving some of these problems. But indeed, as you rightly pointed out, I do think that there's an even larger elephant in the room when it comes to enterprise applications, where I don't think anyone has crossed the chasm outside of the crypto space, outside of the blockchain space, with a method and set of modules that can not only address really compellingly the needs of enterprises, businesses, and so forth, but where there's also an interface, a user experience, and a set of modules that open up a completely different set of use cases that become defaults as primitives for society. And just taking one example that we've discussed a lot about, and at the same time we've not shared some of the insights that we've built around. Just taking this idea of what it means to build things in the AI space, what's happening in the AI space at this point, and then at the end of the day, how you'll need for society an entire truth and trust layer, without which society will not be able to exist. That idea of deploying truth machines for organizations, for industries, for users or startups, with one click, and then being able to build entire sets of data, exchanges, or other type of workflows within, I think will be extraordinarily important and critical for society. But I also think that this will require an entire conversation, in fact, and will be probably one of the most interesting conversations to follow up on once we have laid out the basic fundamental layer around everything that we are unveiling today. Because I do think that first and foremost, there are some problems in the blockchain and crypto space right now. And with this SDK of sovereign chains that we're releasing right now, we can enable builders to immediately tackle this, solve and come with some other solutions to some of the problems that we've not seen up until this point. And at the same time, come back to the enterprise conversation with a full discussion, exciting as it may be, specifically only on that. So maybe coming back to the crypto space, I'm curious, maybe we can dive a bit on some of the design directions that we could explore a bit more in detail, and what sovereign chains can contribute to that.
Definitely. Maybe to recap what the sovereign chains have. There's this kind of software development toolkit that allows you to have pretty much full customization, but also inherit all the primitives that the MultiversX main chain have built, perhaps even some crazier ones. Like just to share some insights before going to the next path, is I'm not sure if it has been mentioned that we're also looking to have parallel processing and some other crazy improvements at the architecture level. But besides that, basically, as I mentioned before, one closer step would be, okay, you have this kind of super performant engine that you can attach to different application. Then we build this kind of super performant application specific like dydx or specific dexes and so forth. But the most important problem would be the liquidity. For example, tapping into a broader liquidity or connecting to the most relevant asset, right, that we have in this kind of space. So maybe just to rephrase a bit and define the problem, right? Most of the layer ones or the networks out there right now have very little liquidity, very little volume. And that's not because there are not enough users, but I would say it is because the asset classes that we're trading are very, very cheap, right? Like imagine that most of the ecosystem have a valuation in terms of billions, right? 1, 2, 10, maybe tens of billions in best case, besides the first, the Bitcoin and Ethereum. But if we consider looking and tapping into the most valuable network, that would mean an asset class of $1.3 trillion. Right? Now, that's something that we should be focusing on more than pretty much everything else when it comes to connecting and expanding the network, right? And for that, I'm really excited actually that today we're unveiling a series of research papers or thought process that how we look at how those sovereign chain SDKs could be implemented and attached to the broader ecosystem. And I'll invite maybe Robert to say a few words maybe about the Bitcoin, the Bitcoin direction and what can we do with it.
In general, it is pretty hard to develop anything on Bitcoin, but there are a few models in which we can tap into. We saw the state channels from the Lightning Network. We saw a few examples of the multi-party computation, and right now we saw a few more opcodes in the Bitcoin script at the protocol level. And combining all of those, you can create an integrated module into the sovereign chain SDK, where the validators of the sovereign chain SDK control everything on that multi-party computation or on that multisig, but in such a way that first you don't have to give the permission to a third party. It's an integrated process of the sovereign chain SDK for all the validators that are there. And secondly, if you let the users to freely come in and go out from these ecosystems without, even if the validator set stops working on sovereign chain, you inherit the security of the Bitcoin towards the sovereign chains. Once you bring not only Bitcoin, but we can think about the ordinals and the other assets which are right now on Bitcoin, you bring it into the sovereign chain, there you can actually build really great applications using the space VM and deploy products which did not exist until then in the Bitcoin ecosystem. Bringing those two worlds much closer and tapping into that kind of liquidity and the users of Bitcoin.
Maybe summarizing some of these points and then tying it to what you were saying, Lucian. I think the largest opportunity by far, without any discussion, is what exists already within the Bitcoin space. $1.3 trillion is an absolutely insane and astounding opportunity, and not being able to tap into that just leaves all the money on the table. Now, tapping into it becomes an imperative and the most obvious priority for us to move forward. But then in addition to that, being able to offer some of the benefits that we've built on the main chain in terms of scalability, but then also in terms of security, which I believe is crucial. Being able to enable the interaction with the Bitcoin asset class without forfeiting non-custodiality is the ultimate form of security, where you get all the benefits but then maintain sovereignty of your assets. And that is not only crucial, but an absolutely exciting place to be in, to touch on the architecture, to explore it, and then to also see if others can improve it. Because at the end of the day, we're making one step clear today as a direction about we're super excited about, but we're also inviting people to take it to the next level, to show some holes into it, to improve it, or just to start building it. Unless you can improve it, you should start building it. Which also brings us to the second point, which I think is similarly exciting, and you might want to share a bit on it.
100%, 100%. So I do believe, like earlier I think Robert mentioned that zooming out a bit from Ethereum itself specific, one of the capabilities of the Sovereign SDK is that it can composite multiple runtimes, execution runtimes, right? So imagining how crazy it is to be able to run or start with a transaction that initiates first a smart contract on EVM, and then with the output goes to the second runtime, which is WASM based, and then to the third with the output of the second goes and execute the third one, which is move, right? So that's, I think, for the first time, really insane and advanced technology. But more than that, I think going back to how sovereign chains could be connected and attached to Ethereum layer, we'll invite again Robert to say a few words, right?
First, I would tap into Space VM and EVM, and from there you can get and inherit the native assets properties for any fungible, non-fungible tokens of the ESDT system, but use all the applications from the EVM. It would be possible with multi-calls and this kind of connection between the Space VM and the EVM, and actually it would resolve all 99% of the valid drain issues, because you actually use real assets, not third-party deposit boxes. And when you have the EVM, the same execution environment Ethereum uses, then you can use the built interoperability layers which exist there, but you can improve on that. What I'm saying here is that it's up to the developer's choice, but it could use the optimism stack on top of the sovereign chain, but I would see it integrated into the SDK and to be signed by all the validators. So it's not more an optimistic one, but a real one with finality. Or you can tap into a ZK EVM, and then all the information from the EVM you can roll up into a ZK, put it in the Ethereum chain, and when this is built correctly, you can actually do it without relying on centralized sequencers, but actually going into the full, from the start, to go into the decentralized, no bridge, interoperable connections. With Ethereum, it's a little bit easier to do than with Bitcoin, and some of the contracts, especially on the Space VM, could be designed in such a way to work with the asynchronous model from the main chain, but cross-chain. So from sovereign chain to Ethereum with an asynchronous call, where you receive and you know will receive on the callback the information from the Ethereum chain, thus making these kinds of not only the VMs internally composable, but the two layers as well.
Maybe again, zooming out for 1 second, I think for the non-technical builders out there, this is indeed a bit rocket science, but we love it, especially in this type of conversation. But the key point is, with sovereign chains, once you see that you can not only tap into the EVM compatible suite of products, where you find several flavors, it's maybe just a direct vanilla EVM compatibility, but then Optimism, Arbitrum, all these other flavors, and then separately ZK technologies that you can also interlink with the other models. That opens up a completely new set of tools that you can embed in this one sovereign SDK, which I think almost gives you a completely new Lego block. Where you can build a lot of things. And again, this brings us to the point where this is one new design that we're making as a direction open and releasing today, especially to get feedback, especially to get other smart people engaging with this. And we're super excited of the direction where this goes, which also brings us to the third point, which I think is similarly exciting.
I think this compounds the excitement more and more, right? So definitely, maybe just to recap very shortly. First, those are invitations for builder, right? So if it was not clear enough until this point, definitely this is an invitation, an open invitation for builders. And following the end of the call today, we will try to publish the guidelines or the paths that we've been researching on, and we'll love actually to see them implemented as soon as possible on all those three ends. Maybe I'm curious, maybe if there's anything again open question regarding Solana VM. Very excited, I think, regarding what has been possible with Ethereum. I do believe that it's kind of pretty similar.
It's kind of pretty similar, but I would love to bring WASM into Solana. You know, we love WASM. I think WASM actually scales more than SVM and Move as well. And with WASM, you can build just more and much easier. And also the DevX is better because you can build anything with any language. So that would be interesting to be brought into the Solana ecosystem as well.
100%.
Perhaps one point that would be definitely cool and interesting, I think Solana has been exploding quite interesting during the last period. And maybe with sovereign chains, we can offer a new type of L2 solution that not only brings scalability and security, but perhaps even uptime. Maybe we can offer a helping hand on the uptime side. But even on the more serious note, I think there's a lot to learn on what the ecosystems around us are doing that is cool and interesting and relevant. And we're here to actually build new bridges, to essentially offer the sovereign chains as these modules that maybe take the bridges and embed them in the technology and enable this native asynchronous execution cross-chain. So we're super excited about this. Very interesting to see it play out on Solana as well. And I think this brings us to a very, very important point around what we're trying to actually build here and how we're trying to take these architectures and put them out there for builders to grab them and make them a reality.
100%. So definitely, I think the grant program has been awaited for a very long time, and I'm really, really, really excited that we finally managed to get it out and with the proper mission, right? So I do believe that the opportunities around the sovereign chains are crazy big, and with the first three paths published, research documents on that end published, I do believe that, and an open invitation for more to be published, it provides already a very strong framework to onboard the next awesome builders and can invite them to build with us and change the entire space. Maybe the second point would be here, as already mentioned, is about $1 million in equivalent in grant for the grant program, up to $50K for the first modules. Definitely very excited actually to follow up on each of the points and see progress. And I do believe that also that the eligibility criteria will be published later today after the call. Curious if you guys want to.
Yeah, so maybe the most important point here to understand for every builder is that with sovereign chains, a completely new economic flywheel is set in motion. What does this actually mean? It means that whenever you build a completely new chain with a completely new validator set, with completely new economics, you have other levers to actually use in your favor to bootstrap the ecosystem, to enable a lot of builders, a lot of users to actually engage with the ecosystem. And the 50K is actually just the smallest hook and excuse to just jump in the water and get the building started. There is no limitation on what you can then raise, the builders that you can bring in, the users that you can engage, and this is hopefully just the starting point to make sure that the three different directions are very relevant, very interesting and exciting for us, but these are by no means exhaustive. We're looking for many other directions that maybe we've not seen yet, that we believe other builders, other people will come with as insights and are super curious to see how this all evolves. So this just makes it super real, super actionable today, and very curious in what direction this actually leads in 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, and further down the road. So maybe a good place to look at is what some of the use cases are that might be very interesting for us to see built on top of some of these sovereign chains.
Cool. Maybe going back to a few examples on each of the pillars here. So I already mentioned before that on the DeFi side, DYDX I think sets an example. I think that's pretty much clear, and there's also a bunch of experiments like also Torchain, which is also connects to the Bitcoin layer. However, it does not allow the liquidity, the Bitcoin liquidity, to be used anywhere else besides the trading platform within the chain. So I'm really excited actually that we would extend that kind of utility and bring it into a very secure way to other spaces. The second point would be payments. I imagine that maybe Circle will launch their own payment chain. I do believe there are also a couple of other chains in the space right now that are exploring different methods. And depending on I think here, depending not only on the technology, but also on the regulation side, if we will live to see some new emerging technologies, maybe an entire world banking system built on top of this kind of technology sounds not that far away and crazy anymore, right? But maybe one that I'm really excited about is the gaming and maybe virtual reality and immersive experiences, right? And when it comes to that, I think a while ago I've been looking on how the technical stack for any kind of meaningful large-scale virtual experiences or metaverse experiences would look like, right? And then from what I understood at that point was there are kind of three major problems, right? So there's the rendering problem, where you need to kind of send and render the objects that you want to place or have in a specific world on all the parties or all the participants on that world. Secondly, then there's the networking part, where you basically need to communicate exactly which object is in exactly which position, and do this kind of in parallel with the rendering part, such that each of the users, for example, would see the other user and so forth on that specific world. And then the most important, perhaps, or the most challenging part would be the storage problem, right? So nowadays, since we're spending and investing pretty much our entire life in kind of online and virtual worlds, imagine that everything what we have built or left gets erased, right? So, and this happens actually in games, happens every time when there's a big patch or update coming out, the entire legacy part is getting dropped, and that's okay, right? And then moving forward and thinking or looking how things would look like, that should not be the default anymore. That should allow actually we in order to have any kind of persistent virtual experience, we need a persistent storage. And the most advanced, I think, the most advanced persistent storage that us as humankind have developed is definitely Bitcoin. That was the first version, perhaps the most advanced one, and from which one we have advanced, and then we took pretty much all the properties and put it into what we have today, sovereign shards. We are not only specialized on that kind of hash throughput, but also can use and attach this kind of application-specific chains to each of those immersive experiences. And that will not only allow storage, but actually would allow immutability and also migration of data or assets between the worlds and so forth. So, and that's actually boils it down to multiverse, right? And multiverse to the power of X.
In terms of the gaming, I would add that it's not only about storage. We mentioned previously about the composability and how important it is, composability in the Web3 world. And especially with the metaverses, open finance, open markets, tapping into NFT marketplaces, DeFi, exchanges seamlessly from the game or outside the game, outside different worlds, moving from worlds to worlds, that's what which can elevate and bring more value into those kind of experiences, and that is much simpler to be done on blockchain, on a well-defined composable blockchain, and it's much cheaper as well. And you just have everything built, already working with the liquidity, and you just have to tap into that.
Perhaps maybe one thing that ties all of this together is this first idea, maybe first just debunking one myth. People, when they look at the multiverse, especially MultiversX or multiverse to the power of X, they instantly connect it to the metaverse first. But the key point or the key insight from that comes from more quantum physics or quantum mechanics, this idea that you have several worlds unfolding simultaneously, from which a branching future connects depending on where you are. So the key point with multiverse should precisely be that you can build many worlds, interconnect this technology to many kind of layers, which incidentally I think brings us to one really big point, perhaps one of the biggest during the next period, during the next 3, 5, 10 years, which is artificial intelligence taking a completely new life of its own within everything that we're doing. And then blockchain playing this kind of truth machine and trust machine layer for society, without which you'll not be able to do literally anything. And what do I mean by this? Whether we're discussing about finance, whether we're discussing about any kind of entertainment, DeFi and so forth, or we're discussing about business, documents and all of that. At the end of the day, having a kind of authenticity layer to which you can tie everything that provides an unalterable history of everything that is happening becomes crucial for society, and also brings us very close to what can be built actually with sovereign chains. Imagine that if we take blockchains to be this kind of new type of computer, supercomputer with distinct properties, perhaps sovereign chains become this unique computer that every industry, every organization, every business, and every individual start either getting for themselves or interacting with in a way whenever they want to secure something which is the most valuable thing they have. So we're extremely excited not only about the use cases that you guys have mentioned, but also specifically in how people will use sovereign chains to build this new type of infrastructure to interact with AI, whether it's machine-to-machine transactions, whether it's securing immutable data that cannot be forged, cannot be modified, especially with everything that we have with AI, or completely new type of architectures that we've not seen at this point. Imagine that everything you've mentioned within the spatial computing or metaverse space can now be created with one simple large language model. Everything that took you 3 years to create now can be created in 5 seconds with a good prompt. So I'm 100% extremely excited about the directions this will go. And I think this also brings us to one really fascinating point, which is we've unveiled a few fascinating directions about where sovereign chains will go, where they can be used. We've also looked at some really important use cases that we want actually built. We've also set some grants for the most ambitious and high energy builders to really take on and show that they can deliver this. So perhaps the best way to see what sovereign chains can do is actually looking at some of the builders and the first of the maybe 1,000 themes that we'll be building on sovereign chains. So with this, let's jump in and take a look at some of their lessons, their insights, and what they've been learning. Hello, Halil. It's a great pleasure to have you here. How are you? How's life in the metaverse?
Thank you so much, Benjamin, for having me today here. The life is in the metaverse actually pretty cool because we can do whatever we want inside of it. So, yeah, pretty good.
That's a good starting point. Now, I'm curious, Halil, what's your project about and what market specifically are you targeting?
Actually, Cyber Network is a gaming hub powered by advanced blockchain technology, and thanks to MultiversX for that, because it's bringing us a huge advantage against our competitors. But basically, Cyber Network is a hub between game developers and gamers who are seeking a decentralized platform with a suite of cutting-edge tools and services. These include SDKs for game engines, game store and launcher, a gaming launchpad, DEX and NFT marketplace, and our Crown Jewel advanced metaverse services.
Now, I'm curious for this type of product, where do you see the main benefits and advantages that a sovereign chain can provide?
Launching our own sovereign chain grants us unparalleled control over our infrastructure, ensuring top-notch security and reliability. It allows us to customize our protocols and consensus mechanisms to cater specifically to the needs of a gaming ecosystem and gaming hub.
What are some of the key, let's say, obstacles that you've been tackling and facing that you think sovereign chains enable you to almost immediately overcome?
Yeah, absolutely. Before, our games were struggling with the transaction speed and reliability. But with our own custom chain, we are solving that problem. Now our games can run much faster, much better, and everyone can join and enjoy them without any issues.
And if you're looking at sovereign chains in the future, like what's the one thing that you're most looking forward to, either as a kind of new idea or new feature for it to be tapped into?
Yeah, for us, for Cyber Network, we believe sovereign chains will have a vital role in the future of blockchain technology. They will make it easier for the people who wants to use different blockchains, different ecosystem in a single but a large network. We are excited to see how MultiversX will evolve and help us to create even better products, even better, let's say, services for everyone, for the entire Web3 ecosystem.
It's really great to hear. I'm very much looking forward to seeing your version of application and the sovereign chain live. And always a pleasure to touch base with you, Halil.
Yeah, thank you so much. It will be a great expansion of MultiversX and the entire MultiversX ecosystem. Thanks again for this video today. See you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Alex, it's a great pleasure to have you with us. How are you, and how's the weather in Bucharest?
It's great to be here in Bucharest. It's a beautiful evening. Just getting ready to finish a full day of work.
Awesome stuff. Now, coming to the project that you're building, I'm very curious, what's the direction you're going towards? What's the vertical or market you're specifically targeting with the project?
The project I'm building is Onefinity, which will be the first EVM compatible sovereign shard of MultiversX. What we're mainly trying to do with Onefinity is open the gates of the ecosystem to new projects from the biggest blockchain community in the world, which is Ethereum. We're not focusing on one specific vertical or target market. What we're trying to do here is create a better environment for all the developers and users of EVM and try to cover all the possible use cases. We can talk DeFi, deepin, infrastructure, gaming, and all the possible verticals of Web3.
This is very exciting, both because of how large Ethereum truly is and how many things people could build on such a EVM compatible chain. I'm curious, what's the key advantage or benefit that you see sovereign chains unlocking for you specifically?
As a builder, I can say that having the task to build a blockchain from the ground up is extremely demanding. But now with sovereign chains, you actually can rely on already proven and existing technical foundation, that of MultiversX, and you can just focus on building what's important for your product. In our case, this is an EVM compatibility, creating a more secure and friendly environment for users, investors, and developers.
And this is indeed extremely useful and valuable. I'm curious, what's the one limitation that you think sovereign chain enable for you in the direction that you're going?
For our product specifically, a main advantage of sovereign chains is the decentralization that it brings and the ease of use. You can basically take everything that is already there, existing in MultiversX blockchain, and use it, just plug and play in your own chain. This was the main advantage that made us make the decision of building a sovereign chain as opposed to just another layer 2 solution.
What's the one feature that you're most looking forward to in the future for sovereign chains? What's the one thing that you would want to build to make things even more interesting or exciting for you?
I think for all of us builders in Web3, interoperability is a big part. For us specifically, we'd like to get in the place where all the sovereign chains are interconnected and together through other technical innovations, even try to connect the sovereign chains with other big blockchain networks. This is one of our main goals in Onefinity, and I believe it's a common goal of ours. And we're going to try to do everything possible to strive towards achieving that goal.
Alex, I think this is the one goal we should push as hard as possible to achieve, and I'm convinced we will actually do it. I'm very curious to see what you're building live, see it play out, see the community interact with it, and be part of this journey. So very much looking forward to see this deployed and many new ideas actually come to fruition or come to life through the module that you're building.
Hopefully all the pieces will come into place, and we hope to have a testnet available in Q2, and we scheduled the mainnet launch for Q3 of this year. So our journey has just only begun.
Very much looking forward to that. Awesome to have you. Looking forward to seeing this built out, and can't actually wait to see so many interesting puzzle pieces coming together.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Grigore, it's a great pleasure to have you here with us. I think for most of the people, zero knowledge technology and rocket science are equivalents in that type of league. And I think you've built many very fundamental and interesting complex tools up until this point, but Pi squared is especially interesting. So maybe an insight on what is Pi squared and what's your main target with it?
So pi squared comes from proof of proof, because we use pi, the letter pi, Greek letter pi, both for mathematical proofs and for cryptographic proofs. So pi squared is cryptographic proof of mathematical proof of proof. And the main idea is to extend that idea that we discussed previously with the balls, red and green, to any mathematical proof. Okay, so if you give me any theorem that admits a mathematical proof, a rigorous mathematical proof, I can, using the pi squared tech, give you a zero knowledge proof, a ZK proof, which is very succinct. Imagine like 256 bits, right? That prove cryptographically that the mathematical proof was correct, was presented to the checker and verified, and it passed all the checks, so it is correct. Which is another way to prove the theorem without having the actual mathematical proofs. Okay? Just the fact that I could generate a zero-knowledge proof, it means that I have a mathematical proof, which means that the theorem is true. And now here's the beauty of it, which made the whole pi square thing happen. The programming language semantics researchers and field has developed over more than 50 years techniques to automatically and correctly reduce computation to mathematical proofs. Okay? Whether you execute a program in, pick a language, Python, and you get the result 5, so say foo of 3 evaluates to 5, in programming language semantics, that becomes a mathematical theorem, an extremely boring and low-level theorem, but nevertheless a theorem. And the execution of the program foo on input 5 that results in 5, that execution is the witness why that theorem is correct. And I can extract rigorously a mathematical proof that checks that indeed foo of, 3 was 5. And now I can give you a ZK proof, a zero-knowledge proof of that, because we can verify mathematical proofs, and now you know that the computation is correct. So it's another way to do verifiable computing, but it is the right way to do verifiable computing. The current approaches to verifiable computing are, in my view, a big mess. What they do, they craft these complex circuits specific to one particular VM or programming language, millions of lines of code that you have to blindly trust. Instead, what we do, we verify mathematics. And our motto is verify mathematics, verify everything, verify computing, verify science, verify knowledge, verify literally everything if you can verify mathematics. So we reduce the problem to verifying mathematics. So now the whole approach is correct by construction, because you go through a mathematical proof why the execution was correct.
I mean, it does seem like pi squared has the potential to take verifiable computing to the next level, which perhaps brings us to the key point about how you think sovereign chains can tie into this and what it might enable specifically for pi squared.
We need an infrastructure to deploy pi squared. To be honest, whether it's a sovereign chain or something else, it's less relevant to us right now. But we work together for many years. We know you, we know your team. You know that you can help us when we need it, no matter whether it's 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. or any time. And for us, it's important. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We already have the pi-square technique. We know how to generate ZK proofs from program execution, from semantics. That's what we want to encapsulate in a product as soon as possible. And using sovereign chains out of the box, shards out of the box, could be our fastest way to having a product soon.
Indeed, I do think that MultiversX technology and specifically sovereign chains open up this plug and play module that can be crucial for accelerating time to market, specifically in situations like yours, where there is a solution already and you
Yes.
just need to deploy it, use it, and so forth.
Exactly.
What do you think is the main one of the main advantages beyond time to market that maybe would be most useful in a case like yours? Any kind of optimizations that you think about might be super useful?
There are two things that we desperately need. One is performance, speed, transactions per second. Our transactions, we are not going to re-execute the programs on chain, right? To execute the programs on powerful servers, we generate the ZK proofs. We just need to verify the ZK proofs on chain to achieve consensus. So we need to modify or adapt the code so that it only runs one program. I know it sounds weird, but we need to run only one program, which is the ZK proof verifier. Okay, so we need to incorporate that in the network somehow at the core level so that we can do it really fast, right? So, and I know that you guys achieved 100,000, even almost 200,000 transactions at some point. So that gives me hope that we get the speed that we need. And second is universality with respect to programming languages. And I know that recently you have some experiments where it was very easy to plug EVM into the existing infrastructure. That's great because we need to experiment with lots of languages. Our value proposition of pi-squared is that we'll be able to settle transactions in any programming language or virtual machine for which you have a formal semantics, so mathematical definition. And now we are going to have all these semantics. We need to just be able to support all of them. And we understand that it's not that hard. And another aspect that recently, we shared with the MultiversX team and we got positive feedback and hope, is that we need to separate the code from the state. Okay, so the state, the storage of a smart contract will be somewhere else, the different address. And then we want to enable different programs that operate on that state. Imagine like you have Uniswap implemented in Solidity, but also in Python and in Rust, right? So we would like all of this to operate on the same state. And also we understand that that's not very difficult to accomplish, which gives us hope, again, to use the sovereign chains as opposed to some other, SDKs or toolkits where they may not be willing to help us or change the code for us.
Indeed, I think what you've mentioned quite a few points, but the idea of building this type of very frontier-like technology that is very much experimental, people are barely looking to understand, not to mention break the records in terms of how fast it can be done, how inexpensive it can be done, but then plugging it to chains that can adapt fast, that can plug in sequencers for you to have the feedback loop really tight. This is indeed extremely important, but then the part where you can plug several VMs in a sovereign chain, I think opens up a completely new set of opportunities because indeed in our situation, it is the VM is just another plug and play module. You should be able to change any VM with which you want to interact.
It's just a state changer. Just one way to change the state, whether it's WASM or EVM or Python, shouldn't matter.
Indeed. What's the one, maybe if there were one feature that you'd like or you would look forward to in the future for sovereign chains? What's one feature that
you'd
I
be
mean,
excited?
for us, but now I'm selfish, but for us, what would be really, really nice would be to have the ZK zero knowledge proof verifier incorporated at the core level in the validator nodes. I don't know exactly where it should be incorporated, but we'd like to just make it a system call, and never execute it as a contract, as a smart contract. It's too expensive, too slow to write as a smart contract.
Let's make that happen, Grigore. Let's make it happen.
Thank you. Well, first we have to write it first, but once we write it, it would be nice to have it incorporated.
Awesome. Great pleasure to have you, Grigore. Very much looking forward to seeing Pi Squared actually playing out, making some waves in the market around the world, and seeing universal verifiable computing really deployed at scale. Because I do think that up until this point, we barely scratched the surface. Both with your technology and with Sovereign's, it seems like there would be a very interesting play and fit to accelerate this into the market.
Definitely looking forward to. Thank you.
Thank you.
Halil, Alex, Grigore, great pleasure to see builders at work showcasing what we can actually build with sovereign chains and what is happening as we speak. Now we come to this special moment that you've all been waiting for. The moment where we take the sovereign chains for a demo, we take them for a spin, and we're trying to intentionally break them. See what performance we can reach and do this all with you together. So first and foremost, I'd like to invite Lucian to just take the laptop and boot up things so that we can see what sovereign chain can do. Transactions, operations, and so forth. Lucian?
Definitely. So we were joking actually earlier today about the part to try to break the sovereign chains. I hope it won't break on my side. So this is a live demo. This is an alpha version. So definitely a lot of stuff on the live demo could go wrong. I hope this time they won't go wrong, right?
Maybe
so
in the first part, not in the second.
Definitely. So yeah, first, today we're gonna do two parts on the demo side. So first part will be to try to set up a local sovereign environment, which will be connected to the testnet environment. As part of this demo, we'll do two further steps. One of them will be to issue a token on the testnet, and then the second part will be to issue a token on the sovereign chain, and of course bridge it to the other network as well, right? So that will consist pretty much the first part of the demo, and then we'll recap once we did that. And we get to the second point, what's gonna happen. So without further ado, I'll just dive in, right? So we prepared an Ubuntu server, which is a blank machine, which only a couple of prerequisites, such as Golang and a few other packages, and then more than that, actually, we prepared also the documentation around the sovereign, right? So one of the points where I think a lot of stuff came in the latest years that we should improve a lot more, it was the documentation. So we are here, actually, I'm actually on the staging documentation, so it's not really public yet, but immediately after the demo, if everything goes well, we will make it publicly available for you as well to try to reproduce what I will be doing in the next couple of minutes. So the first step would be here on the documentation, based on the documentation, to create a wallet. For simplicity, I have already created a wallet. On the testnet is just a default PAM. Here's the command line, and already put a few funds on it, because we're gonna need that for setting up and deploying a couple of contracts through the installation process that I'm going to follow.
maybe just one point that I think is very important for the people diving, especially in the demo. Prepare for a very technical demo. The next few minutes, you'll see the engines. You'll get to go to the engine rooms and then hear the engines roaring. So this is what we're doing with the demo right now. This is not an interface demo. This is especially a kind of historic moment where you see the first sovereign actually performing transactions and getting tested. So
100%, 100%. So yeah, to recap what in practice what we're going to do in 2 simple words and take everybody on board with me. I'm going to deploy a network, like a very small blockchain, on this machine, which is also going to be interconnected to the MultiversX testnet, right? So in the production version, those networks, those own chains or local or even broader protocols will be deployed and be connected to the main chain. So without further ado, I'll just dive in, right? So the first point would be to clone the repository. I'll just go do that and clone the MX chain Go. That takes a couple of seconds. The next point would be immediately after to go into the downloaded repository, fetch all the branches or the leaves, so to say, from the tree where we're pushing the code. And of course, we're going to check out the feed MX chain Go SDK because just for more technical people, of course, the main branch on this kind of repository uses and has the most stable version of the protocol or the binary, and all the features that are being worked on will use a feature branch. So we already downloaded the code. We're going to just access the folder, fetch, as already mentioned, check out, and that's it. Cool. The next point would be just to call the prerequisite bash script. I'm just gonna go and take a look what's in it. Cool. So here, maybe it's kind of for non-technical people, this looks pretty weird. But for us, basically what the script does, it reads the environment, the distribution of the server, and also it downloads and makes sure that we have the Golang, which is the node binary programming language in which has been developed, and the protocol. And then secondly, or in the third point, we'll go and look at the MX chain deploy Go. This one is a binary which prepares and helps us prepare all the configuration files for the Genesis to spin up the node or spin up our own network. And then there's the proxy. The proxy translates and helps in practice to set up multiple observers or validators underneath this kind of proxy and load balance the entire traffic. And of course, there's some more stuff that I think the bridge, of course, the bridge version and the take chain, which I don't think is going to be used. So pretty simple. Everything actually you won't need to do that. I just walk you through what the file does, and then which is kind of the default process how you should go and take and work with files coming from internet, generally speaking. So more than that, basically I will go and just call that. So yep, it downloads, it compiles, and that's it. Right, so done. The next point would be to go and deploy the contracts on testnet. So as already mentioned, I already prepared my wallet with some funds on testnet for simplicity and speeding up the process. I'll just go, and here in the sovereign bridge, there's a config folder with the config file. In the config file, basically, it just points to several variables that we're going to use in the deployment process, such as, for example, it will use in the root folder from my server, it will go and access the wallet PEM, which is the key that I already mentioned, and the contracts and so forth, some other stuff or WASM files, contracts that are being needed in the current form to be deployed on testnet and both on the sovereign, such that they will connect each other to be able to communicate and move assets in between, right? So also some more details here, the proxy gateway and more parameters depending on which network are we connecting, if it is the testnet, devnet, or production, that also will be configured here. So pretty much everything is optimized. I hope everybody still follows me until this point. It's kind of...
I think builders are probably loving this part, and then all the other people are trying to stay alive. So definitely go through the process. The technical part is very much worth it, because then we're going to do something extremely cool with the community, with all of you together. So yeah, back to deploying the actual sovereign chain.
Cool. I'm going to load the script in the console right now. Yep, it's done. And then this is the main part where the actual deployment start happening. So let's do that. The command says deploy main chain contracts and set up observer. Okay, let's do that. So here, as you can see, it already reaches out to the testnet gateway. The testnet gateway actually start pushing transactions from this setup process, such as, for example, if it was not technical enough, I will just go here and show you a bit what we're going to do. So key concepts here, if I'm zooming in a bit, of course, if you remember, the MultiversX is a sharded blockchain. It has the meta chain and multiple execution shards. Of course, the bridge can be attached to each of the execution shards. And what it contains, actually, the first module that we're going to do is basically we're going to deploy the ESDT safe contract, which is a typical safe contract for interacting with tokens. Then there's a fee market. For example, it could set up some fees perceived in order to when transferring or interacting with the bridge. And then there's the multi-sig verifier. And then there's also two other components, which is the sovereign notifier observer, which in this case it will listen to the events issued on the main on the testnet to those three contracts and will push them to the binary here. They will once they receive, they will push the information to the sovereign chain, and we'll talk to those two contracts. And then, of course, vice versa, going back, it will happen through the cross-chain transaction sender service from the sovereign chain to the testnet. Cool. It seems like the first steps here have been executed. Let me see if this is our address. Let's just go to the testnet. Okay, cool. It seems like we funded the wallet earlier, as I said, and then deployed those contracts. I'm just gonna go back and then try to.
One important thing about that process is that those contracts have enshrined functionalities at the testnet level and at the sovereign chain level. So from a user perspective, you will not wrap tokens. You will use the same tokens with the same token identifier and the same existence as from one chain to another chain in each of the directions, and everything is handled by the validators. No need for third parties. I think the bridge might be not even the best thing for this to say, because it's about the native operations. Let's see how to reframe that.
Native cross-chain operations.
Yes.
100%. And also, please note that this is an alpha version. I will restate this during the process if in case anything goes wrong, or if there are some wording or naming not well defined, please bear with us, help us improve, and we'll do everything we can do to make it better. Okay, I'm just gonna, before more talking, I will just try to go and say initialize and deploy the sovereign chain. And then I think we'll get more time to talk about. So maybe I can, basically what's now happening, we're going to set up some more primitives of the entire architecture that I presented earlier today. As you can see, pretty much the entire process is streamlined. Everything you need, I needed until this point, it was just a PEM file and some funds which I can get from the testnet wallet. Just go on the testnet-wallet.multiversx.com, log in, get some funds, and then you can immediately start playing with that. While we wait here, basically, and we can take a look what's happening underneath. So the other part of the services have been, or contracts, which I pointed out earlier, have been deployed. And now we're going to start, or the script has already started a seed node. The seed node is basically the part where it initiates the network topology, like the network discovery and the network connectivity between all those validator nodes, right? And then the second point would be, as we can see here, is waiting for the nodes to start. So the nodes, the node binary are basically booting up, connecting to those network, to the seeder, and then trying to reach consensus with each other. There has been the Genesis file already pre-configured through the process, through the generator for, I think, right now. And then the next point would be to start the binary, which the script is doing right now. And then also on top of that, there's also a small API that is being attached to this node, to the proxy of the node. There's pretty much an entire blockchain, so to say, but it's just downsized and made it possible such that we can do it in 20 minutes. I think we still have a couple of minutes to reach that.
And maybe the crucial point to understand with sovereign chains is it has taken us years and years, like the last 5-6 years, to build this breakthrough architecture that scales in an unparalleled way. And now we're creating this module that every builder around the world can take and boot up and design his own rules with benefits that are customized for whatever application they're doing. This is the magic in what we're doing. The fact that we can start all of this, play with it in a few minutes, the fact that it looks technical in the engine rooms is actually very fascinating and magical. Of course, in a follow-up conversation, we'll do an even more magical conversation around interfaces, like things that you can do with one click of a button. But the main thing that we're trying to showcase in this conversation is how you actually go through the entire process and boot a blockchain that can scale above what most of the blockchain in the world can do at this point after years and years of work. So with this, in a few minutes, you can start playing. Your imagination is the only limit with what you can build right now with Sovereign.
100%. So going back maybe to the technical part, I do believe that in the very next 2 weeks, we're going to see some very cool parts or very cool integrations around the part which I did it today manually. This is especially to showcase that we can do, and everybody can start working on this. And this is also an opportunity for most of the builders to start and streamline this kind of process and help other builders spin up chains with a click of a button. And I was mentioning that from the entire perspective, from what I see, or the entire app chains landscape or sovereign chains, in practice, this is like the biggest market where this kind of process would be invisible. You will go, put your credit card, or pay with some Bitcoin or some crypto, and then spin up a chain in even faster than me, right? So let's get back to work before wasting more time. Cool. So it seems like the sovereign has been deployed. We should, on testnet, it seems like all the contracts are running. We should go and just take a look. I'm just gonna refresh the page, the Explorer. And yes, it's alive. We actually have a secondary blockchain here, which is the sovereign test, which is producing blocks. We can just go and have a quick look. Of course, there are empty blocks right now, but it should be already connected. It's alive. It's already connected to the testnet. Curious if you want, if we should do a very short break here, or we could move forward.
I mean, this is, in some sense, a historic moment. Just because we have the first sovereign chain live, we're playing with it. You've just seen it deploy. And now, of course, we're moving forward where we're testing some of the operations, demonstrating what it can do, and then try to break it intentionally with you guys. So we're coming to that immediately after showcasing that operations work and just pointing to this very important moment that we finally come to. So awesome to have it live, awesome to see it play out, and yeah, curious to see it also run some operations.
100%, let's do that.
What kind of consensus round seconds have you started? The chain?
I think it's let's just go and
It might
look.
be 1 or 2 seconds by
Yes,
default.
indeed. Let's go and look at the timestamp. So it's this one. It has been produced 33:59, and then okay. So this one has actually 6 seconds. So it's pretty similar to and default to what we have on main chain. But I think down the road later in this demo we're gonna see some really crazy stuff. So yes. To just maybe touch one more idea, definitely the consensus has been, and the possibilities and capabilities of the sovereign SDK are crazy, I can say that, and we're gonna see that in a couple of seconds. Cool, going back to the operations, now that we have the chain live and connected to the testnet, we'll go and say, okay, we said we're gonna do issue a token on the testnet and bridge it to the sovereign chain, and then the same part from sovereign chain to testnet. Cool. So here for that, there's also documentation for that, how you can do that, and then there's a sovereign deposit token guide, and in order to save some time, there's here the configuration file, how you could do that, or how you can change the variables and start playing with that. I'll just leave the default values, and since my scripts are already loaded, did that before, I'm just gonna go and say, okay, issue token. Cool. It already reached out to testnet gateway. If we go and have a look on testnet, so right now, because the testnet is having cross-chain transaction, it's actually issuing the token on the testnet, sending to the meta chain, and waiting confirmation. That should take a couple of seconds. It already has been recognized as a smart contract execution, and we already have a bunch of feedback here that the execution or the step has been successfully executed. We have the token, which is TKN token. Cool. Going back, and then the next point would be to deposit this token to the token smart contract deposit, to the safe contract that I've showed you earlier in the diagram, which is responsible of managing the tokens which are connected or should be transferred to the sovereign shard. Cool, done. Let's go back, see what happened. Yep. So we deposited. So as we can see here, it shows cross-chain send transaction, which means that this transaction has been is going through a sovereign chain, is leaving the testnet, the public testnet network, and it goes to the sovereign chain. So now I'm going to go back to the second explorer. Just copy the address. I'm going here. So as you can see, this is an internal API, so it's not publicly available. But there down the road, just bear with me. There should be some goodies for you to play with as well. So I'm just gonna go and see what happens. So as you can see, yes, we go here. Cross-chain receive transaction. So the just barely deployed chain has been connected to which has been connected to testnet, have received the tokens which I've sent. So if I clicked on the transaction, you can see here. So going back here, transaction, you can see I sent 123 transaction tokens, and I have received on the sovereign chain 123 tokens. Right. Pretty crazy. So having this kind of setup, just to recap, it took us, I think, 4 years to deploy the first chain, and now having an SDK to deploy it and laugh about it in minutes, kind of makes me think at how things go. Laugh and cry at the same time. Yeah,
You forgot to add that we have broken a few hundreds of public testnets in the that process.
So in order to maybe just to recap about what the team has went with us through before launching the mainnet, we had, I think, in 1 year 147 or 100, around 130 or 140 releases. Just remembering you that the full year has 300 days, so 300 something, 365. So we had kind of every 2 days a new release coming out, deployed and tested with sweat and pain. But yeah, really happy actually to go. So just moving back to the demo. So we had the first the first 2 points already concluded. We're gonna go and follow the third step, which is issue a token on the sovereign chain and bridges to the testnet. So without further ado, let's do that. Issue token sovereign. Let's go, and then say cool. Let's go and have a look. Back. Do believe transactions issue. Yes. Okay. So we SVN is the token ticker. We just issued, and we have it there. And the next point would be register token. This step will not be required anymore in the upcoming releases. This one just registers a mapping in between the token tickers and so forth. So it just sets some variables, which will be simplified in the very next version of the sovereign.
Yeah, actually the public testnet, it's not yet upgraded to the RC v1.7 next one, which will contain the enshrined token operation features. So the same ticker on the sovereign chain will be used on the main chain as well, with some prefix on the sovereign. So every sovereign will have its own prefix, which is quite fun. And then people will see live that what kind of tokens they have.
Awesome stuff. Okay, so we had the last step here, which will mean to deposit token into the sovereign safe contract on the sovereign chart, which should end up on the public testnet right after. So let's go. Let's do that. Let's have a look. I'm on the sovereign. Going to have a look. Okay, so we have a deposit. Okay, again, cross-chain send transaction, which sends 321 SVN tokens. And I'm going to have a look on the, just let me close this one and then go back on the internal testnet and have a look. Yes, so it's already here. I will go and have a look on the testnet. If I go back, we can go and see here, hey, this is a received transaction, cross-chain received transaction, and we have received the 321 tokens. So basically, with that, we proved that, as I said, 20 minutes, had some fun, joked about it, and also managed to deploy a new chain from zero with custom logic, custom fees that will actually also inherit crazy capabilities in terms of performance, and also connects natively to the main chain, and also will inherit different properties such as multiple VMs, parallel execution, and really crazy stuff that pretty much there is nobody else in the space that has that kind of technology at this point. Cool. And with that, it concludes my first step. Curious if you guys want to add anything else.
Indeed. So a really important and great step has just happened. We've not only showcased the architecture, but then have demonstrated what it means to actually deploy while we have some fun, while we're discussing together a new chain from scratch, to test run it, play a bit with it, see what it can do. And I think right now we are getting to the most exciting moment for everyone in the community and everyone that's been part of this demo, which
is in fact trying to intentionally taking the sovereign chain and breaking it with you as we speak while being live. So to do this, I will invite every one of you to go to voyager1.dev, which is this new URL that you can come in, and the URL is actually break.voyager.one. Why this is extremely important and fun at the same time. A moment where we take this architecture and try to see what it's capable of. Try to see its speed, try to see if we can make it break, and do this together. So what we'll do is share the screen and take a look at the website break.voyager.one, and we'll do this together. First, we'll take a look and I'll share a bit what we have on this webpage, what we're doing in the back, and then what we're trying to do, especially with you. As you see, we're trying to test run this new sovereign chain. On the front screen, in the hero, you'll see the number of transactions per second that we're processing while being live, especially with you. This is what we'll discuss about. This will unfold during the next few minutes. But if we move a bit lower, you'll see both the number of transactions that are being processed in total and the peak that we've reached together. This is a special page that we've created and constructed to interact with you, to give you guys the possibility to be part of this historic moment, to open as many tabs as possible and start spamming the network actually while we're doing this. So I'll just run you through some of the simple things that you can do on this page, especially to help us reach the maximum transaction per second for this instance right now. First, you'll be able to just get a wallet on this page. You see the wallet there, click get the wallet, and then you'll immediately see your address. Second, you'll be able to get some funds, request them from a faucet that we've built, and then this will enable you to get some space credits and play with them while spamming the network. Then last, you'll be able to just press the button to spam the network. This is the most important part, because once we are doing it with thousands of people around the world, I'd be very, very curious how it happens, how fast we reach a kind of...
I pressed the button.
That's awesome.
Wait it.
Did you press the button?
Sorry, I couldn't wait it.
That's awesome.
Press the button. So maybe just to give for the a bit more technical people, just to clarify and give some very small disclaimers. So we did deploy one sovereign shard into a local environment or semi-local environment with small consensus and so forth. But for this kind of setup, we're using a 20 validator set, which also the challenge is not actually running consensus. We can already look. We also have available the Explorer, that Voyager1 .dev, where the problem or the part which the challenges that we're seeing are not the part of getting transaction, but rather pushing and indexing this kind of transaction out of to this kind of services such as Explorer, Elasticsearch, and other indexing services. Also very interesting here, as you can see here, I'll just zoom in. We're running a consensus of 1 second block time, right? So this is 6 times more performant than one we have on mainnet right now. And then also, while Benjamin invited you to break my technology, I hope you'll be kind with it. But already it goes to 16,000 or more than 16,000 TPS.
Yeah, so maybe the important point right now is we're still waiting for some of the people that are with us here to open up the tabs, maybe several tabs, and try to break this. Literally start spamming the network, seeing what it can do, seeing some of the performance records we can achieve are. And this is extremely, extremely important, because we're not only test driving this sovereign chain, but we're doing it with state-of-the-art architecture. As Lucian was mentioning, we're already demonstrating the 1 second consensus. Of course, playing and seeing how fast it can break and what scales it can reach. I'm convinced that with every step that we're making, this will constantly improve, but it's extremely exciting to see it play out. So I'm curious where we are and if you guys can push a bit more. Like, is this all you can do? Perhaps some more tabs will help us reach some better records.
I'm sweating.
That's good. That's good.
Okay, 15,000. 15,000.
Okay.
Okay, so we do have a max TPS of 18, close to 18,000.
Come on, I'm convinced that our builders and the community can definitely push a bit more. 14,000 is absolutely nothing. We either break this thing or we've come just to sit and relax and so forth. There's a kind of running joke within our team that during a call, it was super tense. We had a kind of release and so forth. And then one of the colleagues said, hey, we all know we came here not to have fun, but to actually push the limits. So this is really good, and it's important to spam the network as much as possible.
So let me see if I'm still spamming this. Let's generate again, get more credits, and then we should be able to.
I think you can also see the speed.
Yeah,
how fast this actually goes in real time.
Oh,
there's a
okay. So
there's
we
a
have
new motion element updated there to.
Yeah. So we just had. I was looking at the block explorer. So we have 23.
23,000
per second.
That's good. That's good. But I mean, I'm not seeing the peaks yet.
And that's 1 second block.
So
and in relatively inexpensive hardware, we can say that as well.
Perhaps just to state, there are no chains at this point that can process this types of numbers of transactions per second. It doesn't matter that they have the most expensive hardware. I'm happy to build bridges with everyone, and I think we can learn from many ecosystems. But when you look at what they can process in practice, it doesn't happen. So seeing this live is cool. Maybe let's see if we can push it further. If the community cannot push it, maybe we'll start pushing some buttons as well to see if we can heavily spam this. So yeah, let's just come help us take this down. Now is a good moment to see how it can do. It can do.
I think Lucian have to start some transaction generators there in order to just a little bit more to break it.
Yeah, we'll might take some time. So just give it some time. I do believe that so maybe to explain a bit what's happening right now. Right now, all the instances that are navigating and activating the buttons here with break. Actually, it generates a wallet. It funds the wallet from the Genesis wallet, and also it uses the local machine to generate hashes of transaction and sign as much as possible and broadcast them to the API of the sovereign chain. So also, what I think that could also happen is that actually spamming or DDoSing the API might also cause pretty much a bottleneck. So this is, as I said, it's meant to be live tested. Oh, okay. So I kind of missed something.
No. I think we're finally reaching the point where we can see some of the maximum limits. We've set some larger spammers in motion. I think the community is also pushing
extremely hard. It seems someone has finally opened the tabs and is heavily pushing the buttons.
Maybe to set some disclaimers again, the problem here, or the challenges, were not processing this inside the blockchain or inside the consensus. The challenges here are actually to keep up and push this kind of throughput, which is being processed inside the blockchain, to a non-blockchain database, which actually has been proven to be slower than a blockchain in itself. Who would have thought, actually? and then, which is, for example, Elasticsearch indexing. For this case, we're trying to index every second, as you can see here. Like there was multiple blocks, one after another, with 72,000 transactions every second, right? So in this case, what happens? The network, or the observers, the infrastructure stack behind, needs to await the consensus or push the data and wait for confirmation from this kind of API infrastructure that it worked, and then it goes back and can perform the next block, right? So I think the infrastructure will remain live. As I said, this is a very alpha version, very crazy one, where you can see that it performs upwards of 70,000 transactions per second. That's, as Benjamin mentioned, crazy enough, and I'm really, even though I sweated a bit, I think I'm really happy with the results of today.
Now, look, this is remarkable. It is a very important moment. We have the sovereign chains live. We have an SDK that builders can play with. We have demonstrated what they can do in terms of cross-chain operations and so forth, and we have set a new type of record. With you guys, with the community. 72,000 transactions per second is not a small number. I'm sure this will get better and better with each step that we're adding to the architecture, each of the improvements that we were alluding a bit to, whether it's parallel processing or other types of modules that will further improve this. But having this live, doing it right now, not in X years, is an extraordinary moment. So great to have you here, great to have this done. And I think now is probably a great moment to zoom out a bit and think what we've looked at today, where we are, and what's ahead of us, what we are trying to achieve with this. We've first looked at what sovereign chains are, where we are with them, why this is a very important moment to have this modular technology that takes everything that we've built with MultiversX and grants it to all the builders in the world. We've also intentionally focused this conversation on a much more builder, raw, almost bare metal technology, where you can see some of the components, you can get a feel of what it takes to actually deploy this, and also what benefits it actually brings. What are some of the benefits and technologies that this immediately enables? What are some of the use cases that you can touch on and that you can really use this technology toward? I've also mentioned that in a follow-up conversation, we'll look at the interfaces. We'll look at some of the use cases that go beyond the crypto native use cases. We'll look at some of the use cases that specifically focus on enterprises and the conversations with them. But the enterprises, at first, don't really care about the technology. They only care about what this technology enables in their business. What benefits and useful things can happen to either save some money or bring some more money to their business. We very much understand this, but at first we want to take the builders on this unique journey as fast as possible, integrate them in the conversation, start this weekly, bi-weekly conversations with builders where each new release goes to this select group of people that can play with the technology, that can test it. And I think immediately after our conversation today, you'll see a new type of landing page specifically focused on sovereign chains,
where you get all the information that we've discussed about today, where you get an open source module that you can test for yourself, that you can play with. You'll get the documentation, and you'll get access to the grants. You'll get some challenges with new ideas, with the 3 new architectures that we've unveiled. And even more than that, I think this is one of the best moments for MultiversX and for other ecosystems, because at this point, we've repeatedly discussed about this idea of having the perfect island that no one visits. It doesn't matter if you have this perfect island that is the paradise, but you're alone, right? No one wants to be that perfect island and then remain the island in the ocean that nobody visits. We want MultiversX to be at the epicenter, enabling new things for some of the other largest ecosystems in the world, enabling new use cases and applications for the builders that we have in the ecosystem, but more than anything, enabling this spirit of collaboration, of thinking about a non-zero-sum game, thinking how this bridges with Bitcoin, with Ethereum, with Solana, with some of the other ecosystems, can be built by offering this great technology that is here, it's accessible today, and that immediately jumpstarts these exciting new ideas that you can take a look at. Now, perhaps another very, very important point is, if we compress the information, the question is, what is really important for builders? Another question is, what is really important for users? What's in it for them? Another question is, what's the most important thing that validators can look forward to from this conversation? And I think for builders, this entire conversation has been only like candy for builders. From the start to now, you've just seen all the technologies, you've seen us play with them, discuss the different paths that we're looking forward to explore. And this is great. This is first and foremost a technology that enables a completely new universe of possibility for builders. But in addition to that, I think there's a great conversation and great element for community, for the users that are with us from all over the world. And this is new chains, new tokens, new airdrops, new experiments, new applications that they all can be part of. Now, we have always been very upfront about this type of spirit that is very different here than in any other conversation. You are usually used to have a company build something for 5 years, 10 years, and then this company is taken public, and then this is where the public discovers the company. Well, when you're being part of a journey of an early startup that starts and perhaps builds on sovereign chains today, you have to assume that all the things are experimental. This means it's super exciting, it can be a thrill, but it also means that sometimes things are difficult, that not everything is super simple, works out just like that, and challenges will hit you from all parts. It's super important to be clear about that. But I think the kind of people that see this technology, that look at this technology and want to be part of these journeys, are the people that want a new type of adventure, that want a new products being built, that want a better world at the end of the day. Because if we cannot work toward a better world, then I'm not sure what we're doing with all this cool technology. So coming back to the users, I think them being part of the new experiments, the new journeys, encouraging, giving feedback, getting early on different trains of these experiments is really great. Now, in addition to that, validators are also crucial. Validators have just received a new game with staking phase 4. A lot of reconfiguration, a lot of new game theory, a lot of new strategies being deployed by all these validators around the world. This is super interesting. It's very relevant. Usually people just sometimes get scared about new things that are coming out, But once you give them 1-2 days, then they switch from being maybe scared and thinking how this might work to what their new strategy is. How can this strategy bring new opportunities? How can it bring new income? How can they be part of this journey and contribute? And for them, I think this changes the game completely. How? Well, with each new chain, you'll need validators. There will be many new chains, many new experiments, and then validators will want to be part of this experiment. So this means that they'll be able to use and leverage some of the architectures that they built. eGold will become a much more interesting asset, not only because of the underlying technology and the MultiversX ecosystem. Of course, that will be the case for forever for eGold. But when you have 10 new chains that are also secured through eGold and then have their native tokens, when you have 100 new chains, when you have 1,000 new chains, things change. I will repeat this for validators just like that. When you think about that, at first, one validator stake had a cost of $500, and laugh about how crazy that was, how interesting it was, people joining in and so forth. And then at some point, one validator stake was more than $1 million. Just think about that range, how things can change, how things can open up, how new opportunities come. So zooming out, again, builders have this new, not only toy, but toolkit to build new applications, to build new connections, better layers to the interactions with other chains. But then there's also an entire space that we've not explored today that is beyond crypto, that goes to enterprises. And this will be a special conversation that we'll come back to. Second, users. A lot of new opportunities. Just look around at some of the projects that were that we've shared, but I'm sure there are many other projects that we've not discussed about it yet. I'd love to actually see a calendar with this type of projects that will be coming out, and I'm sure we'll very soon see one. That's exciting for users, and we're ourselves very much looking forward to that. Last, validators will have many new chains to be part of. This will also mean that they'll have to be smart, they'll have to be strategic, they'll have to think about new ways of providing value to some of these chains and then joining as early and as fast as possible. But at the end of the day, this is not a zero-sum game. This is a new game that we're playing and preparing for. Last point is this all is just the start of the journey. There are so many things that can be built on sovereign chains, and we could sit here and discuss for the entire night. We could do more demos and all of that, but at the end of the day, you have everything now to start building. You have all the incentives, you have all the good hooks and excuses. There is no excuse anymore. Now is the time to actually jump in the water, take this with you and see what it can do. Think about some of the ways you would use that, you would improve it actually, and see where it can go. This is the right moment for all these experiments. Last point, before maybe inviting Lucian and Robert to just add final thoughts from their end. I think immediately once we switch this stream off, you'll get the Sovereign Chains landing page where you get all the information. You can browse, you can get calls even with the team to get feedback and ideas, but you can immediately start playing with the technology, which is the most important thing that we're looking forward to. I'm not sure, Lucian or Robert, if you want to add some notes?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned before, and also as you mentioned actually regarding the landing page, same applies to documentation and all the resources needed to reproduce the entire setup what I've been playing with today. And there will be many other demos. This is the very first one, and imagine similar capabilities and how the world changed before the first nuke, right? So this is kind of the same weight, I would say, for the Web3 space, especially for the MultiversX ecosystem. Being able to showcase, laugh, and also break some records in terms of what we can achieve and what we have achieved today with the tech. I think that's it. It was pretty much covered. Please, if there's also some other stuff that are unclear, make sure that you share this kind of video with friends. Grab a beer, enjoy it, and watch several times, because I'm sure there's a lot of information inside.
I think that Web3 is a lot about collaboration. So as teams can get early on this to the technology, we have all the posts on Agora, all the posts about the architecture. Come, ask us, get into meetings, give feedback on Agora. Let's improve some of the parts. Explain to us what kind of customizability you would like for your own sovereign chain. We can make it happen. We can show the way how to move forward, because the more minds are together and the more discussions in this regards, the better products you can launch through this technology, and this technology can evolve. Everything we build, it's open source, and everything new things we add, it's like a constant accumulation of value.
Awesome. So one, we can go live with the page. Now is a good moment, as good a moment as any other. Second, a new type of game is starting right now with sovereign chains for builders, for community, and for the entire ecosystem. This is not only for MultiversX, but it's the most important step we're actually taking to create this acceleration layer and interoperability layer for the entire crypto and blockchain space. Beyond that, we're going to very intentionally target some of the use cases and some of the interfaces to people completely outside of the crypto space. Right now, let's get some fun. Let's see some builders take this. Let's see it being broken. Let's see it being tested to its very limits. This is the best moment to build, to be alive, to learn, and to push the limits. So very much looking forward to what you are going to build, what your feedback, your ideas will be about sovereign chains. And what can I say? Just wish you Godspeed. I take a different metaphor a bit than the nuke. Perhaps the spatial exploration that we've seen in the 70s is a bit more on the positive side. But hey, this is a great moment, and very much looking forward to seeing all the feedback from the builders in the community. Thank you, and talk very soon. Take care.